Alright, today I'm going to go ahead and change the spark plugs for this car. It's got about 39,000 miles, meaning like 100 miles away from 39,000 miles. And the reason I'm going to change the spark plugs is because the car's been hesitating from time to time in the mornings. And the experience that I have from symptoms like this, it always tends to be spark plug, coil pack, something of that nature. So I'm going to start with the easiest thing, or the cheapest thing, I'd say, which is the spark plugs. So all right, let's go and start. I'm going to go ahead and start removing the coil packs. So I'm going to try to fit a socket. Let's see. See, this fits. Crack. There's a hose in the way. Alright, this will do the trick. So this size, I'll tell you in a minute. So once it's loose, you can go ahead and take off the ratchet and then just untighten it with your hand. It's not in there too tight anyways, so it makes things a lot easier. So this one's out. Let's do number 2. I want to try to do all this without having to remove anything besides the coil packs, and perhaps a few things here and there that may get in the way. And I say this because sometimes you got to remove the whole strut bar. This right here, in my other car, I pretty much have to remove the whole strut bar, and that requires removing all this area above the engine. So to remove 6 spark plugs takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on your experience level and knowledge of the vehicle that you're working on. And since I already had seen somebody else do it, I already had an idea more or less of how to remove it. So it took me about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So there's like a rubber piece here that it's hiding. I don't know what's here, but it's kind of like insulating this area. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to remove it carefully without tearing it, or just move it out of the way to remove the other coil packs. Expose the screw and now I'm gonna loosen it up by hand. Another reason I'm changing the spark plug is because I've been driving this car somewhat hard for a small SUV. It's my wife's. I bought it for her, but she doesn't like to drive, so I'm the one that drives it the most. So guess what? I gotta make sure that it drives the way I like it, more so than her, because she doesn't care as much as I do. That's the feel of the vehicle and how it handles and looks. She does care about the looks, but I care more about how the engine performs and the suspension of the vehicle itself. Make sure that it handles well, since I like driving kind of fast sometimes. So now I'm going to, now that I unscrewed all 4 of the coil packs, I'm going to turn the camera a little bit here so you can see a little better, hopefully. See, it's already out, and you can just pop it up. A little harder than I expected, so let's see if I can remove the harness first. Pull out the pin, use a screwdriver, stick it in and pop out the white pin. Then it should come out easily. There we go. So you just gotta pop this white clip out with a screwdriver or your fingernails if you don't have gloves, and pops out. So now let's see. There we go. First one out. Now I have this swiveled socket that it's a size 14 that goes in the spark plug housing here and makes it easier to tighten the socket itself. Looks like I'm gonna be short here a little, so I'm gonna go ahead and get an extension so I can go ahead and take out that spark plug. So once it's loose, again, just use your hand to untighten the remaining of the thread on the spark plug, and you will feel once the plug is completely out, because you will feel it like it's really loose. There you go. And bam. Yeah, spark plug looks a little beat up. Champion spark plug. Looks rough. 39,000 miles, fellas. So I got a replacement plug. It's a BOSCH RX double platinum. Yeah. Even if it had some life in it, like I said, I like keeping my cars in tip-top shape to make sure that it doesn't leave me stranded around the corner. So we're gonna go ahead and put it back in here. Hold on a second. So I was gonna look for an anti-seize lubricant for the thread of the spark plug. Don't have it, but then, you know, this is a new car. I'm keeping up with it. It's not like I'm gonna just leave it there for 100,000 miles and let it stick in there and make it hard to get out next time. You know, when this car hits another 30,000 more miles, I'm gonna go ahead and inspect the spark plugs anyways, maybe less, depending on how I drive it and the conditions under which I drive the vehicle, and then check them again and maybe change them. Again, that's the advantage of doing it yourself, is that you can do it whenever you want. You don't have to go to a mechanic shop or the dealership to do it. For me, it's really more about the time. I can do this, you know, in my spare time if I'm not doing anything productive at home. Most of the time I am, really, but I also take time to do this type of stuff because it is kind of like my hobby and alone time. You can't over tighten those. You don't want to break it in the cylinder, because then that'll be bad news. So just tighten it up to where you cannot go no more, and you got to do it nice and easy. And you got to actually use a torque wrench to make sure you torque it to the correct torque specs. But and I'll write it down on the frame of this video what the correct torque specs are for those that like to use a torque wrench.
And you will know if it's not alright. You know, you'll have a lot of more track to go. It'll be still spinning. This looks so pain in the neck. I guess I can just pull this one out without undoing the harness.
There you go. What a workout. So this one, you know, the harness is still there. It's fine if you can pull it like that. You don't have to undo the harness. As you can see, sometimes they become hard to get out, to take out, and just more work, unnecessary work. You gotta work harder. I'm sorry. You gotta work smarter, not harder. There we go. I was spinning on nothing. It's got some rubber inside the socket that holds onto the spark plug when you untighten it, so you can pull it up. And that's what I was actually unscrewing, was the rubber itself, but it wasn't really doing anything to the spark plug. And then you can hear a spark plug squeaking out. See, here's where the inside rubber for this socket comes in handy. It holds onto the spark plug, so you can just slide it in and start screwing it in. Some sockets don't have the rubber, maybe because I don't know, they're old. These don't have it, old school. But every new socket like this should have that rubber piece inside. Sometimes you have them and they fall off because of shrinkage. So just make sure that it's in there, especially for engines like this where it's not as easy to put in the spark plug without having that rubber piece. Okay. Okay.
Ready, tight?
Okay. Once you feel the resistance, then you stop. You don't want to push it. All right, let's put this back on. There we go. The rubber boot is really flimsy, unlike other boots that I've experienced. They're a little bit more rigid. This one is very flimsy, so you kind of have to ensure it's in the right angle. And once we're all done, I'll remove I'll tighten up all the coil packs. There we go. Ooh, man. A lot of force for this thing to come out. It's really more the angle than anything else. If you had it right in front of you without having to pull it at an angle, it'd be a lot easier. But because it's at an angle, it becomes a little tougher. There we go. Just gotta play around with that rubber insulation piece here on top of cylinders 1 and 2. I'm holding it up with my middle finger of my left hand while I'm screwing it in with the my right hand. Man, that's a workout for my middle finger. Okay, that's tight. There we go. So that's 3. No joke. Okay. Move out of the way. Okay. So another thing, because of that rubber boot that's in the socket, sometimes you feel like it's in all the way because you feel some resistance, but in reality it's not. The only way you could tell is once you push all the way in and you try to twist the socket and it doesn't go anywhere, that means it's actually down all the way. Otherwise, you're just going to go around in circles the top part of the spark plug. There we go. Loosen it up. Okay. The rest can be done by hand. There you go. Sometimes you gotta find the right spot to screw this in by hand because of the limited space you have here. Sometimes you're just moving around with a few centimeters, and that can be somewhat difficult if you have huge hands. All right. All right, so that's number 4. Okay. Now the way this is gonna go is you're gonna have to push down on the coil pack because it's got that rubber. It also seals so water doesn't go in the spark plug chamber. So you gotta push down with one hand while you're screwing with the other. Otherwise it's just gonna keep pushing up and you're not gonna be able to screw it into that hole. Alright, so that one's in. Again, you don't require it to be too tight, just tight enough to where the coil pack is sealing. So once you tighten it up with your hand, maybe half a turn and you should be fine. Maybe a quarter turn. Oh yeah, like a quarter turn and you're good to go. And just look around to make sure that the seal is around the actual cylinder. And it should, I mean, because it's bigger than that cylinder, so it's not going to get caught up in the middle or inside of it. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and use the socket first by itself, like I did on the other one. Otherwise, I won't be able to reach. And then push down with your left hand or right hand if you're left-handed. And then thread it in with the other hand. And that one's already pretty tight with my hand. Hand tight. And then about a quarter turn, and you're good to go. This one's a little bit more tricky because of that rubber boot, but it's already threaded in, so I'm gonna have to actually use the socket a bit longer because I cannot get my hand in there. And I'm gonna use my left hand. a little longer, but in the end, the result is the same. They're all put together. Don't forget to put those clips back in. The harness of the coil packs. You can put on this rubber piece back on. It's more really for support of the engine cover, because otherwise it will kind of like probably not be firm on top of the actual head of the engine. That's my thought. And also a little bit of insulation maybe for whatever's back there. I can't really tell. So that's it. I mean, it took less than 30 minutes to do all 4 spark plugs. Not bad. Main thing here is the time that I saved in going to the dealership, because my dealership is about 45 minutes away. So I still would have been on the way over there to get this done. Plus the whole day having to wait for my car, because it's a 30-minute job, but they want to keep the car for a whole day. And they don't want to give you a loaner car. I'm in Spain, by the way, so it's a little different over here. They only have about 1 loaner car. So that's the problem. That's why in my case, I don't like taking it to the dealership. I just don't have the time to be waiting for it. So see, now I'm done with this, and I can go ahead and enjoy the rest of the day with my wife, kids, and enjoy the beautiful weather here in Spain. Not too hot, not cold. So yep, I'm gonna go ahead and start the car just to make sure that it runs. Right, so I hope you guys found this informational and helpful, and hopefully I can save you guys some money, and most importantly, time. To me, it's more about the time than the actual, I don't know, $100 or more that they would charge you for this. Spark plugs alone, I spent less than $50, so $50 in 30 minutes, and I got my car all taken care of. Until next time, take care.